Hey, quick thing before we get started on this episode. Next week, there will not be a new episode of Mob Psycho 100. Basically, I took a vacation, and when I take a week off, the next week Patreon takes a week off, and then the next week YouTube takes a week off. So, next week, no episode of Mob Psycho. We will be back in 2 weeks for Season 2, Episode 5, Discord Choices. I think that's what this says. I can't see. Anyway, so just a quick announcement. Sorry to burp. It's rude. Anywho, that's just a quick announcement. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Mob Psycho 100. Last time we had one danger after another. Degeneration. So yeah, Reagan's website was paying off, and he was getting multiple new clients. There was a guy who wanted a curse, so Reagan just gave him a piece of paper that said curse. And then that guy ended up cursing him later. There was a third one. I'm trying to think, because there's the kids that wanted a creepy picture. Then they found out there were spirits at this house. There were actual spirits there. And then Mob was going to exorcise them, but because they are good spirits, they're very peaceful spirits, he was very conflicted, and Reagan eventually just had to shut the whole thing down and be like, all right, we're not going to do it. And yeah, he felt bad about pushing Mob into doing it. What was the other one? There was another one. I can't think of it. Oh, that's right. There was the stalker. So there was a lady who was being stalked by an evil spirit, but it turns out to just be a human who had psychic powers. So, yeah. Anywho. But it was an interesting thing where Mob was caught in a dilemma because he didn't want to destroy those evil spirits. But, he was getting peer pressured by those dumb kids, so. But luckily, Reagan was able to shut it down, so. So yeah, it was an interesting thing, and I'm excited to see where we're going with this one. So, like always, the reaction is down in the description and in the pinned comment for your viewing pleasure. So let's go ahead and jump right into this episode of Mob Psycho 100. Here we go. Okay, back. Well, that was, something. That was definitely interesting. Okay, so I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting an evil spirit who was formerly a powerful psychic who went insane, but at the same time, this is episode 4, and this time last season is when we got Teruki, and he was a threat to Mob. He was definitely a threat to Mob. So yeah, but that, alright. It's an interesting thing, because it starts off with, his daughter might be possessed and stuff like that, and then you go in and it's like, is she possessed? But it's like, but yes. And I like how, because you can tell even in just how she talks, just at the end, just the, hey, can you undo these restraints for me? And it's like, yeah, no, that sounds like a trap, that sounds like a trap. It's really interesting, though, seeing so many other psychics who live in, what the hell was this place called? Like, Salt City or something? I forgot what this city was called. But it's interesting how Reagan is the smartest of them. Again, this makes me think he had psychic powers at one point or something, But the fact that none of them, even though they do have some psychic abilities, none of them could catch it. They were fooled so easily, It's like, they thought that which I thought that might have also been an interesting twist if he was possessed, but no, it is her. It is her, and it's Mogami Keiji, which is interesting. A former psychic from long ago, who basically just became disillusioned with everything and wanted to become an evil spirit upon his death. So he was trying to absorb as much power as he could, you know? So yeah, and he was also a psychic that Dimple encountered long ago. So that was interesting. But all of them, all the other psychics, it's just interesting how many of them, because they are still somewhat legit. Because you had the one guy who helped us out a couple episodes ago, where he is a legitimate psychic. You know, a lot of them they do have powers, but they're just not good. They're not competent, you know? Like, Reagan, you know, when you create your character and you have all the stats that you can drop points into, Reagan put everything into intelligence and charisma and nothing else, you know? That's kind of where Reagan lies, you know? Where the rest of them, they tried to do it at different points, but it's like, no, Reagan just outclasses all of you and he doesn't really have any powers, you know? And then, yeah, you had the Johto guy, who's like, oh, well, this is the guy who claims he defeated the Dragger, but he clearly didn't. And it's like, you know, they're so, you know, they've got their head up their own ass, basically. But it's like, no, he is legit, and you guys suck, you know? But even that moment where, like, when he got possessed for a second, and Reagan, you know, need him, basically, and it's like, you know, it's one of those Reagan Arataka moves that probably does nothing, but in this case it did do something. It did actually get that spirit out of him, so I don't know. So that's just an interesting juxtaposition between all the, you know, psychics who do have some power, but then the one psychic who doesn't have any power, but he's the smartest of them all, you know? But that's also why he has Mob, you know? He does have power. It's called Mob, so. But yeah. You know, this does slightly bring up the question, though, why Mogami went after this girl in particular. I don't know. That was kind of strange, but I mean, I guess he's going somewhere to prove a point. I don't know. He's going somewhere just so he can be an evil spirit. It doesn't really matter where, so. But yeah, but he started to fuse with the body. And I like how this season we also see Mob starting to learn from his enemies, you know, because you had that in episode 1 where he was like, oh, well, I'll send a stronger signal to these plants, and therefore they'll listen to me, and I can, because my signal will be so much stronger than the evil spirit. And here it's also the same, you know? Here it's also the same, where it's like, well, you know, he learned from the guy who did the out-of-body experience last episode, so now he's going to do that to go in and try to force Mogami out, you know? So that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, that was interesting, and there was something else I was going to say about it, too. Oh, there was it was an interesting thing that over the course of this episode, you could see Mob's expressions, like, getting more expressive. You know, he almost looked kind of scared, but that's because he's getting to his breaking point, you know? His meter is going up, so now he is left without powers. He is left without his powers in this new world, in this scenario that Mogami has created for him, and it's going to change his perspective. And honestly, the whole thing they were talking about honestly just felt like Star Wars, where it's like, you know, it's like, oh, negative emotions are so much stronger, and it's like, well, technically, yes, and that's the whole point with the dark side. It's the dark side is much easier, you know? It's much easier, and you do get, you know, a lot of, I guess, bang for your buck, you know? You do get a lot of power at very little cost to yourself, honestly, with the exception of, you know, your own humanity, basically. Whereas being a Jedi, being good, all of that is difficult. But, I mean, and that's, you know, not even just Star Wars. That's, you know, superheroes, all sorts of things, you know. Being good is always the more difficult thing than being evil, you know? So, we're going to have to see how Mob overcomes this and proves that he can beat him even as, you know, a good boy, basically. So, yeah. So, it sucks that, you know, we're taking next week off, but still, very, very interesting. Of course, you know, if you're watching this afterwards, then you just got to go straight to the next episode. You know, if you're binging this, then you're all fine and good. But for me, I'm waiting 2 weeks. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff. And I'm very curious to see where we are going next time. But that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of my Mob Psycho 100 reactions, as well as another video you can go click on if you want. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.